was struck by how many folks would stay after class and say, "That was awesome. I hate my job so much." What I came to find was that there was a huge opportunity in the employee well-being industry to change the script, to go from this idea that employee wellness is about squeezing everything we can get out of our employees and lowering their healthcare costs, to equipping the human beings at work with the tools, resources, and policies that help them feel happy and supported. Our motto here at On the Goga is happy people do great things. To build an effective well-being program, you have to start by understanding, what do my employees care about? Where do they need support? What does well-being mean to my employee? And so that's actually a core piece of our technology. Every single investor that has said no to us has made our business better. They've pointed out an area where we need to get clarity. Technology is into your wellness program. Technology creates an efficient system for delivery of well-being.
Anna, welcome. Thanks so much for being here. How are you doing today?
So good. Thanks so much for having me. I'm really stoked to be here.
Absolutely. So can you get started by telling us about On the Goga?
Yeah, absolutely. So On the Goga is the first done-for-you employee well-being platform. So we really focus on helping teams build hyper-customized employee well-being programs, whatever that looks like for their team, and pulling that all together on a really easy-to-use platform that lets HR automate well-being workshop scheduling, sending out content, reminders, and employee engagement.
So what's your background? What made you so passionate about building out this project?
Yeah, so my background is kind of funny. I'm sure a lot of founders can relate to this. I did not start out saying like, I'm going to build an employee well-being technology company, right? So the earliest form of On the Goga was actually on the go yoga and mindfulness. Haha, on the Goga.
Okay, so that's where it comes from.
Yeah, exactly. And the concept early on was, my background is, aside from entrepreneurship and digital marketing, in the wellness space. I'm a yoga teacher, a mindfulness teacher, and I was completely the wellness cynic. I was like, I'm not a hippie. I hate exercise. Like, this is not for me. But I actually had been prescribed yoga by a doctor for a vocal cord injury that I had when I was younger. I'm a classically trained vocalist. So I got prescribed yoga and I was like, fine, I'll go. And it had this really transformative impact on my life. And I was like, well, this isn't hippie yoga magic. What is this? And really got into the science behind the practice. And so originally On the Goga was all about bringing this practice to folks in a very research-backed, relatable way. And so early on, we got a lot of traction from employers saying, hey, come out on site, do a yoga class, do a mindfulness class with us. And I was struck by how many folks would stay after class and say, that was awesome. I hate my job so much, right? And I was like, how is this possible? You are part of an employee wellness program at a company. And what I came to find was that there was a huge opportunity in the employee well-being industry to change the script, to go from this idea that employee wellness is about squeezing everything we can get out of our employees and lowering their healthcare costs, to equipping the human beings at work with the tools, resources, and policies that help them feel happy and supported. Our motto here at On the Goga is happy people do great things, right? So in 2018, I pivoted the company to focus on building hyper-customized employee well-being programs. My co-founder, Dr. Ali Goldstein, joined. She's an organizational and clinical psychologist, and we worked with teams of all shapes and sizes to build really meaningful employee well-being programs, from on-site workshops and trainings to policy. And in 2020, we obviously had to go fully remote. And so we ended up building a platform for our own customers to centralize the very custom well-being programs that we created for them in one place. And then that just kind of started to take off like wildfire. It was what we needed in the industry. We found that other companies really needed it. And so that evolved into the technology company that we're building today.
And so what was your introduction to Techstars?
Oh, Techstars. So this was great. As we were making this pivot, we had built this platform, and I was talking to an amazing mentor of mine, AJ Bruno, and he was looking at what we were building, saw the platform, and he's like, all right, Anna, you got to apply to an accelerator program. Like, this is really promising. You're moving into from this consulting company into this product and tech space, and I think an accelerator program could be really helpful for you. And Techstars was at the top of the list of programs that he recommended applying to. And everyone knows that about the Techstars brand. Like, it is really well known. There are not a lot of accelerator programs out there like Techstars, and so we actually applied to two Techstars programs. Techstars New York denied us and we got rejected from that, and Techstars Anywhere accepted us. And I think that was also an awesome just entrepreneur's lesson, right? Sometimes it's just about the right place at the right time, finding the right fit. And so we were introduced to Ryan and the team at the Techstars Anywhere program, and it's just been friendship ever since. It's been an awesome ride.
That's awesome. I congratulate you on the perseverance of taking that no and not letting it bring you down. I've interviewed a fair few of founders who got denied to one or two or even three sometimes. And it's just like that persistence is really what you need as an entrepreneur. And if I were, part of the selection committee, I think I would see a company that's applied three times in the past, and this is now their fourth go at it, or has applied in the past and they're going at it again. That's a sign of like strength and a characteristic of what Techstars looks for in the founders. So kudos to you again for just sticking with it. Can you give me a brief overview of what your time in program was like? Because I think the Techstars Anywhere program might function a little bit differently than maybe some of the specific city-oriented programs or other programs. Would really like to hear what it was like, what some of your biggest takeaways were, what you sort of to this day implement into your company and your processes.
Absolutely. I would say we are very much now a Techstars company, right? When you think about like, how does this operate in your day to day, it's changed everything about the way that we think about growing our business. So, um, entering the program, I knew we have this awesome product that people are loving in the market, but we're not really sure exactly how to convey the value of this product. We're not sure what about this product is why it's being successful. We had a lot of questions, and we had an understanding that this product was going to help us scale our company much bigger and much faster than we ever were able to scale or any earlier version of the company. But again, looking back, I can really tell we didn't have a deep sense of what does that actually mean. Going into Techstars, the first week of the Anywhere program, actually the first meeting we had was all virtual, which is also hilarious because I don't know if you've ever gotten on to, a Zoom meeting and everyone's on mute. But, Ryan, our managing director for the program, was like, welcome Techstars Anywhere class of 2023. And everyone's going, but
Yeah.
it's just silent, which
Yeah.
was very funny. But we had 3 weeks in person. So our first week, middle of the program, and then end of the program. And the first week was all about meeting the other Techstars cohort companies. And like, I cannot understate how big of a value that was for us. I mean, we have peer groups. So you get paired, with other CEOs, if you're a CEO or CTOs or CXOs in these peer groups. And I still meet with my peer group every single week. You're meeting amazing people. One of the awesome folks in our cohort was employee number 5 at Zillow. Another one calls themselves the Beyonce of open source and is just this amazing, phenomenon in the tech scene. And I think that getting to know those folks was pretty incredible. Also, starting to have a frame of reference for what does my company look like next to other companies. Not obviously you're going to get in there and you're going to see some comparisons and say, oh, I want to be doing that better. Oh, they're farther along at this, or oh, we're doing well here. But really, it also helps to give you the perspective into what an investor is going to see when they're looking at your company, right? So many different types of companies, so many different strengths. Some companies are further along in technology. Some really understand product market fit. Some have an amazing team. So that was really great. And then I would say once we kind of got into the group, the next big thing is mentors, right? You literally have a week, 2 weeks of back to back to back. I kid you not, you don't do anything else during this time, meeting mentors. And honestly, going into that mentor madness process, you don't even know what you are looking for in a mentor, but you come out. I feel like we entered into that process giving one pitch and left giving a completely new pitch. And then the rest of the program, you're going through workshops with your managing director and your program manager and your cohort, but you're working directly with that mentor team. And it's basically like an MBA in startup leadership in 3 months. And so, we came out of the program with a completely new marketing strategy, a completely an understanding of what does it actually mean to fundraise and deploy outside capital to accelerate growth, and a fluency in really the industry of startup growth that I think is critical to fundraising.
Mm-hmm. So have you gone through a fundraising round yet? Are you currently going through one? What's that situation looking like?
Yeah, we're currently going through one. So we graduated in April
Okay.
from Techstars, and we are in the process of raising our seed round right now.
Mm-hmm. And so what sort of strategies are you taking from what you learned in Techstars toward, finding the right investors and actually building out that round?
Yeah, so it has been a really, really awesome experience going from Techstars directly into fundraising, because Techstars gives you all of the groundwork that you need to have the conversations, right? I was at a Techstars conference in New York I guess a couple of months ago, and one of the things that they said was most founders, great founders, fail in their first 1 to 3 companies. I genuinely feel like Techstars prevents the initial failure, right? You might still fail on number 2, but it prevents the initial failure because it gives you a fluency in fundraising. What are terms? What's the difference between a safe and a convertible note? Not just in terms of how does it affect you as a founder, but how does it affect your strategy for growing a business? Because that's really the demystifying this idea of fundraising. Fundraising is a a vehicle for financing your business. It's not that flashy when you really get down to it. And so learning what kind of round do we want to do, and then how to convey the value of this round to the investor, right? Learning what an investor is looking for and what you're looking for in an investor. And I think that's been really my biggest learning since graduating from Techstars and having conversations with different investors, understanding that saying investor is kind of like saying sports. There's a lot of different kinds.
Yeah.
And based on your industry, based on how you want to grow the business, based on your stage, you want to find different types of investors. And so I think we've really kind of focused in on this type of strategic investor that we are looking at, folks that understand our industry and future of work, folks that are looking at the value of our company also through the lens of impact, how to create extremely high returns while maintaining extremely high quality product for our customers. And learning how to spot those things early and have conversations with investors just like people has been really critical.
What's something that's surprised you about the fundraising process so far? Because you said it's been really fun, and I feel like that's not maybe the typical answer from a founder, especially just given the marketing condition right now. So I'm curious, what's something that's
Yeah.
blown you away a little bit with the process?
Well, I wish I had it right here. Oh, here it is. Okay. So this is my wonderful handy dandy spreadsheet. I call it a spreadsheet table. It's my elementary school table.
Uh-huh.
And it's a path to 143 no's and $2 million. And I
Wow.
think the reality is we know how many conversations it takes to raise money. And this is my way of quantifying these no's as forward progression in the business, right? The yeses not pictured, right? Because those kind of serve themselves. But the reality is every single investor that has said no to us has made our business better in some way. They've pointed out an area where we need to get clarity. They have shown us the difference between one type of investor and another type of investor. They forced us to really look inward and say, you said you're going to grow the company like this. Is that really how you want to grow the company? And all of that is additive. And so does it suck to get a no from an investor? I think it sucks to get a no from an investor if you need a yes. But if you're filling the pipeline with enough conversations, if you're managing your cash flow, if you are building towards your business and you see funding as an accelerant, every no is actually a step in forward progression for your business. And so I think that I was anticipating going in and thinking that every no was going to sting, but if any founder wants to steal this life hack, the psychology of it makes it so much better. And you get to pick whatever elementary school sticker you want to pick for that table.
Yeah, I think that might be one of the best executions of maintaining a positive mindset while still getting no's during a fundraising process. Like, that's pretty awesome. I kind of love that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And I think Techstars was really helpful for prepping with that. They told us, they're like, it's brutal, man. And anyone, even before you go out fundraising, if you have been doing founder-led sales for your business, you know that a no can feel personal. And so the more you can anticipate that and do things that help you to appreciate the value of the journey and the process, I think it's critical for success.
And it seems like maybe you might be applying some of the concepts that you're distributing through your organization toward this whole fundraising process. And so at least you're, practicing what you preach. That's
Yeah. Great. Yeah. Practice your practice is our number one core value.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit more about specifically what the company does and, employee well-being in general. So
yeah,
how would you suggest companies actually get employees to utilize well-being plans or, well-being offerings? Because I will admit I'm, guilty myself of not utilizing, all of the opportunities that my company gives to elevate my well-being. I would love to hear from you, an expert in this. How do you suggest employers get their employees to actually utilize these uh, devices?
it's a really great question. And it's actually kind of a comically simple answer. On the Goga is predicated upon the understanding that folks utilize things that they need. And I know that sounds really overly simplified, but the reality is that the way most wellness programs or wellness benefits are rolled out in a company is kind of the default setting, which is we're going to pick the things we think people want, and then we're going to tell them about them, and we're going to hope that they use them. The reality is, to build an effective well-being program, you actually have to go the other way. You have to start by understanding, what do my employees care about, right? Where do they need support? What does well-being mean to my employee? And so that's actually a core piece of our technology, is onboarding onto the platform. You as a user get to tell the platform, right, what you care about. And all of this information is private and de-identified. And so it doesn't go back to your employer. It just helps the platform to understand, what do you care about? And then we can provide those insights back to the employer. And you can do this employers can do this through surveying their employees, right? But the critical piece is you have to understand what employees want, and then you have to act on that information. And that's another place where a lot of employers struggle. And it's not for lack of caring. It's because of lack of bandwidth. It takes time to survey your employees, to analyze that data, then to put a strategy plan together, to vet your vendors. And so that's what our platform is built to do. Understand what your employees need, make recommendations of what benefits, content, policies, workshops, challenges that would benefit them most, and then putting that together into a single platform. So the first trend is just hyper customization of benefits, understanding what your employees need. And then the other piece of that, which just is so true and has always been true, is that technology isn't your wellness program. Technology is a tool that can enable you to improve the well-being of your employees and can enable your employees to improve their own well-being. Technology creates an efficient system for delivery of well-being. But at the end of the day, you have to have managers that are trained in what it means to be a great leader and a great people leader. You need policies that support the utilization of the benefits that you offer. You need clear communication and you need efficient systems for people to be able to understand what's available to them.
Mm-hmm. So what does the growth plan look like for on the Goga?
Yeah, so we're really excited by what we're seeing in the impacts of taking the data from employees, passing it through our platform to create kind of predictive models of what the best programming can look like. So there's a huge data side to what we're building, being kind of the organizational psychologist in the pocket of the employer to say, oh my gosh, I thought that my employees needed this, but it turns out they actually need this, which in all of the data and studies is a huge gap here. Just the lack of connection between what we assume our teams need and what they actually need. And then the other piece of this is just going to market as an integrator of solutions. And so working with other well-being platforms, other well-being vendors, content creators, HR aggregators to pull together what people need in a central place and ecosystem. This is such an amazing industry and so many companies doing such awesome work. I mean, folks in the Techstars portfolio, whether it's digital health, employee engagement, HR tech, and us being a central point for people to find and utilize all of these amazing resources is something that I think is great for the industry. It's great for working America, and it's great for the well-being of everyone in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing that just occurred to me is that when employees are thinking about, or employers are thinking about wellness programs and wellness initiatives in their company, it's almost like they have to change the way that they perceive the employees that work for them and think of them more as like a client or a customer in that you need to serve them in a positive manner so that they continue, coming back and are happy with the results. And I think employers sometimes think, well, they're my employee, they work for us and like they help us to serve other people, but at the same time as an employer you also have to serve your employees. So that might be something that is difficult to change the thinking of behind the scenes of employers when you're telling them maybe you're going about this whole wellness thing a little bit wrong.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting and super valid point. I actually wrote a blog post for WellCoA, the Wellness Council of America, this awesome nonprofit around how to improve employee well-being, and it was just called "Employees Are Customers and Employers Are Brands." And I actually think that this framing is helpful in helping to change the thinking, because if you go to a CEO of a startup and you say, hey, how much do you spend on user experience or customer experience? They're going to give you a number. And I guarantee that number is not going to be low, right? And you say, why? And they say, because we know that the experiences that folks are having, that's what keeps them coming back. That's what shapes the value of our business. The same thing is true with employees, right? And you can see this in the numbers that employers are challenged with when it comes to turnover, retention, recruitment. This is a huge opportunity, and it's really where the value of employee well-being lies. It's not in reducing healthcare costs. There's some value there, but it's really in building cultures that people want to come to and stay at to drive incredible value.
And so what sort of feedback are you seeing from some of your early clients just about, how they appreciate the products and the services that you're giving them, how they think things might improve with some additional features and whatnot? Like, what are they saying?
Yeah, so we are proud to say that we have had 100% customer retention of our annual subscription
Never heard of.
customers. Yeah,
Never
it's
heard
pretty
of.
awesome, and this is a huge win for us. In our first renewal of the platform, the first renewal cycle, because customers, from the employees to the HR, they say this is our favorite benefit. This is catered to me. It's incredibly meaningful. HR teams tell us it saves them up to 10 hours a week of their time. It's kind of a win-win-win. And I think the reason, if you're thinking like, well, how come this hasn't been built before, is because we were in the problem and we saw the problem differently, and we built what was needed, not necessarily what was going to be the flashiest thing to go out and fundraise for, right? We built a product that works, and now we're carrying that product in and using outside capital to scale, not to prove the concept of the value of the company.
Mm-hmm. So can we talk a little bit about the 5 pillars of well-being that you list on your website? And so one of the questions that I've been really curious about, is it possible to have like high achieving status in all 5 pillars, or does there kind of have to be this displacement amongst all of them so that you live like a healthy and balanced life? Because to me, it seems like that's a lot to excel in. Like, and please run through for our audience what the 5 pillars are in case they aren't aware. But I see it to be potentially very difficult to be really high status in all 5 across the board. And I might be wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong right now. Like, I'm totally okay with that.
No, absolutely not. You are 100% right. And I think one of the status quos we try to disrupt is this idea in our Western culture, especially. The idea is a 5 out of 5 on everything is baseline, right? Like, this is not true. Think about, I love the concept of biomimicry, looking around us in nature, in the natural world, to look for examples of how things work, right? Think of a river. In a river, you've got, how wide is the river? How much water is coming down the river? How many rocks are in the river? Are there waterfalls and features? Where's the geography of the river, right? You can have a beautiful stream that is just a trickling brook through a small forest, or you can have a Niagara Falls. Both are awesome rivers. Neither one is better than the other. Well-being is incredibly unique to each of us as individuals. So globally, we look at wellness through the lens of 5 pillars to help kind of people step back and say, this is not just how many steps are you getting. It's physical, which is everything from our fitness to what we're eating to the energy we have in a day. It's mental, it's social, it's financial, and it's environmental, right? How are you relating to the space around you in the world? And so these are not the only 5 pillars. These are just 5 words we use to help people take a step back and realize, wow, all of these things can make up what well-being looks like to me. And the question is, how important are each of these to you? And where do you feel like in your personal life satisfaction desires, you're falling here? And we have a philosophy of use data to guide, not grade. So if you're like, financial wellness is actually like a 10 in importance, but I'm feeling a 3, perfect. There's a huge opportunity for growth there, right? But to your point, it's not saying we need everyone at an organization to be at a 7 in all categories, right? It's saying, hey, where do you want to make change? Where do you need support? My job is to create an opportunity for you to get that support, not to make you happy, not to make you healthy by any specific definition, but to give you the opportunity to figure out what it is that you want and the support to get there.
Yeah, and I imagine that also throughout your professional life cycle, you might have different weight upon each of those 5 categories. Like when you're young and, financial security, or, you really want to have a social life, or you really want to be physically well, like those things might be more important to you. And as you get older, you might say, I really want to have, communal or family importance. And I feel financially stable now, so I'm not as worried about that. Like, it probably varies throughout your professional life cycle. So that's a really cool way to think about it. And, I really thank you for sharing that with me, because now I feel like I'm going to approach my employee well-being a little bit differently. But I really just want to say thank you, Anna, so much for coming out today. Really appreciated talking to you. And just so you can, and so our audience can have a way to get in touch with you, please share how they can reach out to you or learn more about your product.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me. If you want to talk employee well-being, Techstars, please feel free to reach out. Our website is www.onthegoga.com. That's ONTHEGOGA.com. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm just /Anna Greenwald. And yeah, those are the best ways to get in touch. Would love to hear from you. If you have any employee well-being startups or ideas or practices that you want to share, I'm always down to talk about this.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Dylan.